Are U.S. home prices sustainable? The median sales price hit an all-time high for a ninth straight week, according to Redfin. We have interest rates sitting at around 6.5 to 7%, which is very high, especially where the price of homes is. And that makes everything much less affordable, right? It's never been more expensive to purchase the median price property, both in terms of numerical value, but also in terms of the mortgage payment because of where interest rates are. But what people have to remember is it's really expensive, almost impossible for many homeowners to sell their current property and buy a new property, right? Many people couldn't afford to buy the home that they're living in right now at current prices and current interest rates. Things are just so unaffordable. And because of that, people are choosing not to sell. Now, we have seen active inventory tick up significantly this past year, but it is trending back to 2022 levels, and it's at least according to Redfin, is not increasing as drastically as before. So the real question to ask is, what will cause sellers to put their homes on the market? That's the only thing that would bring home prices down and stop this unaffordability. And so we're going to talk about that in this video. But before we do, my name is Liam O'Reilly. I'm a realtor with Jerry Riley Real Estate. If you have any real estate needs, reach out to me directly. All of my contact information is in the description. Now let's talk about this first article here. We're taking a look at a chart out of Seeking Alpha here. And this chart is of single-family home sales reported by region throughout the United States. Now, we see here that the biggest thing is the lower priced homes, the homes priced $250,000 and below. All of those sales decreased year over year, meaning that the number of properties sold below 250,000 has decreased in every single section of the United States on a year over year basis. And at the same time, the number of homes that sold for over 750,000 increased. In many regions, they increased by over 20% year over year. Now, what this is telling me is that there's more homes in general that are now worth 750,000 or $1 million plus, and less homes that are worth $250,000 and under. And I know that's certainly true here in Vermont. There's been more sales for over $1 million, not because there's more $1 million properties being built, but because prices have gone up so significantly that more properties are worth over $1 million. And that's what we're seeing in the rest of the country. And then on the flip side, there's less homes that are worth $250,000 or less. I know here in Vermont, you can't really get anything for under $250,000. Not a home, not a condo. Maybe you can get a mobile home for under $250,000, but that is about it. There's virtually no inventory under that price range. And that's what we're seeing across the United States. That's what this chart is showing us. So really, it's not that there's less homes being listed that are smaller, or less homes that are starter homes that are being listed. It's that the price of these starter homes has now creeped above that $250,000 price point, which is pushing this median sales price up, as we see in Redfin here, for the ninth straight week in a row. So here, home sale prices hit record high for ninth straight week, but rising supply and slow demand could dampen further price growth. And I completely agree with that. We'll take a look at some of these charts here to see what's going on in the economy according to Redfin. Median sales price up 4.7% year over year to 397,000. We can see here a significant increase year over year, up 4.7%. I mean, it just continues to shoot up. And this is despite inventory being drastically higher than it was last year. We see new listings are up 7.3%. This orange line is 2023. And then this darker blue line is 2024. And then above, we have 2021 and 2022, the red line being 2022. Now, when we take a look at active inventory, we can see that it's up significantly, up 18% year over year from 2023, but it's actually floating right around where we were in the fall of 2022, and it's trending down, which is very interesting. I was not expecting inventory to take a turn down, especially when we see pending sales that are still down year over year and are down significantly from 2022 levels. So we still have new listings increasing. We still have active inventory high, and we have pending sales lower, which is a recipe for home prices to start coming down. But at the end of the day, inventory is still very low and it's trending down. And so we need more homes to hit the market in order for prices to come down, in order for things to be more affordable, or we need the Federal Reserve and mortgage rates to really change and shift in the buyer's direction in order to change affordability back in favor of the buyers. Now, when we take a look at this article out of CNBC. They go over the article is titled "The Housing Market Explained in 6 Charts." Now, some of these charts we cover often on this channel. The average 30-year fixed rate mortgage, we can see here about 1% lower than its all-time high, or not all-time high, but is a recent high in October of 2023. And then we have of course, the home price index is at an all-time high. We just talked about that. And we have the NAR affordability index sitting at around 93 points on their scale. So what this means is that if you have the median priced property, if you make the median amount of income in the United States and you try to buy the median priced property, you'll fall about 10% short from buying that property. You need that is what this is saying with the average mortgage payment based on the average home price. So if you're putting 20% down, if you're buying a now $400,000 property, you can't afford to buy that home if you are the median income in the United States. We're below 100, which I know is significant, but it's very similar to the 1980s. In the 1980s, affordability was actually worse. This affordability index sat around 80 out of 100. So meaning that things were even less affordable, and we did not see home prices crash. Just like the 1980s, it's very expensive for somebody to sell their home, to give up their low interest rate mortgage and move into their next property. And we can see that in this chart that they have listed below. So what this is a chart of all the outstanding mortgages in the United States that are below where the mortgage rate was in Q4 of 2024. Now, that rate was sitting at probably a little over 7%, so a little bit higher than where things are today, but still 98% of mortgages were lower than the national average, which is probably fairly similar to where they are today. Now, it might be a little bit higher. It might be around 95% in Q3 now of 2024, but still, this chart shows exactly what's going on. So we see here the light blue line is less than 1 point below the national average. So we see about 5.6% of properties, of mortgages that are outstanding are less than a percentage point below, let's call it 7%. So there's about 5.6% of homeowners have a mortgage in the sixes, which is, not very much, meaning that 95% have a mortgage that's less than that. Well, I guess if we have to take out this 2%, which are, about a little bit higher than the national average, less than a point above the national average, less than a point above that 7%, right? These are probably people with lower income scores, lower credit scores that weren't able to get that average credit rate on their home loan. And then we take a look here, the largest portion in Q4 of 2023, 68.9% of all mortgages were 3 points or more below where the current average mortgage rate was. So again, if we say that the mortgage rate was at around 7%, that means 68% of mortgages were below below 4%. So how can somebody who had a property that was priced at around, when we take a look at this median sales price, that was priced at around $300,000 or maybe even less in 2021, now that home is worth $400,000. So how can they afford to give up their 4% rate that they got for a $300,000 home, buy the exact same home for $400,000 and pay a 7% rate for it? That's what is causing all this pain in the housing market. And the real reason, we're not going to go too deep into it in this video, but it's because the Federal Reserve stimulated the housing market for so long. They stimulated it for about 10 to 15 years after the great financial crisis. They kept interest rates artificially low, and now coming out of the pandemic, they're starting to pull back their stimulus. They're not buying mortgage-backed securities. They increase their rate, and now as we return to a more balanced, more free market mortgage system, we see a lot of pain coming out of this stimulated system that we had for years on end. So are these median sales prices sustainable? Is it sustainable? Well, we really have to look at this chart and to see if they're going down. I mean, it's not good. It's not good to have people struggling to get into housing. It's not good to, there's articles being written that say, if you want to buy a home, well, maybe you should just wait for an inheritance. That's not the type of environment that we want to live in. But the reality is that as long as 70% of mortgages are below that 4% mark, because so many were originated before rates started to shoot up, then we're going to continue to have this issue. because we have higher mortgage rates, we have higher prices, which means that people who own their homes can't afford to give up the mortgage that they have. So overall, are they sustainable? I mean, I know that people are struggling to get into properties right now. Home sales are down. There's less people buying properties, but at the end of the day, there's nothing to suggest that home prices are going to come crashing down just because a lot of people can't afford them. There's still enough people out there in the market who can't afford to buy homes, and unless these people with low mortgage rates start listing their properties at mass, I don't think we're going to see a drastic move downwards in the median sales price. Now we might see it fluctuate by about 1% or 2. Like if home prices across the country drop by 2%, I don't consider that a crash. I consider that a natural fluctuation in the market. That's not really a drastic increase or decrease in the home prices, and that's something that we certainly could see. But in order to see a major crash, we need to see these people who have these low mortgage rates list their home, and it's not something that we're seeing right now. So anyway, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I love learning from you folks. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.